Please, crowd. Right, we're going to do best centre-back in the Prem. This is going to be interesting. It's going to be very interesting because I've got 8 players. So, first quarter-final, Van Dijk against, wait for it, Martinez. Van Dijk against Martinez. I nearly went with Botman. It was going to be Botman, Martinez, and I've thrown Martinez, and I've been a bit biased there. But Botman or Van Dijk or Martinez. Get your votes in. We're talking right now. Who is the best centre back? Who is the better centre back right now? I want to know who the best centre back in the Premier League is right now. I'm interested to see what you vote. I just want to say something about Virgil van Dijk, by the way. And I want to say this as a consumer of football, and that's what That's Football is all about, because everybody's welcome here and we can all have different opinions no matter who you support. You can be unbiased. I was listening to, I think it was Talk Sport yesterday, and they were talking about Van Dijk, and I can't remember who was talking, but they basically said that Van Dijk is not the same player since his injury. And I think that's complete nonsense, because his injury wasn't in the summer. All last season, Van Dijk was very, very good, and Liverpool were in the shout for a quadruple, and that was after his injury. He's not very good this season, but last season he was brilliant, and that was after his injury. So, you know what I mean? Sometimes a lazy story gets written, and Van Dijk, you can't say Van Dijk's not the same player since his knee injury, when last season he was superb, and that was after his knee injury. He's just not playing well at the moment. But I don't think it's injury related, unless he's had another injury. No. Dean says, forget Cody, Tarkowski, who's been better than most. Yeah, I think there's a few, Dean. I think there's a few that might not be in there. But Van Dijk's going to win this. 3, 2, 1. I thought Van Dijk was very good last season compared to this year. He's nothing like it. So I don't think it's injury related. I think that's quite lazy. Our second semi-final was quite good. I'm quite interested in this one. Raphael Varane or John Stones? Who you got? Varane has 67% of the vote. We don't even need to count it down. Varane has beaten Stones, which I applaud you for, because I think Raphael Varane this season has been fantastic. Obviously, the Manchester derby, not so much so, but trust me, when you're playing at centre-back and your midfield disappears, you're screwed. You can't mark everybody. Right, our third quarter-final is quite a good one, this one, actually. Quite a good one. We've got Ruben Diaz, sticking with Man City, and we've got Thiago Silva, who I think has been Mr. Consistent for Chelsea over the last while. So get your votes in. Do you think Diaz is a bit overrated? I feel like he's a very steady centre-back. Do you think he's a bit overrated, though? I mean, I think for Portugal, he never looks like he does for Man City. And, you know, when you play for Man City, is your job as a centre-back as hard as it is when you're playing for Newcastle? I do think there's something in that. I think being a centre-back for Man City is a bit different to being a centre-back for even Liverpool. I think you have to defend a lot better for Liverpool than you do for Man City, because Man City have so much of the ball. But I mean, there's no doubt that Diaz is one of the better centre-backs in the world, but I don't think he's the best centre-back in the world, in my honest opinion. Silva's overrated, but I don't know why people think he's good. I think Thiago Silva's a very good centre-back, Chen, and you know why? I wasn't 100% sure about Thiago Silva when he was at PSG. But when he came to the Premier League in his mid-30s, I thought he is going to get hung out to dry. And he very rarely does. I think he's been really steady. Beyond steady, I think he's been very, very good. So I think that, you know, for a player that's not blessed with massive pace now because he's getting older, I think Thiago Silva's been good. I do. I think it takes a lot of talent and ability to come into the Premier League in your mid-30s and perform like he has. There's not been many. I can't think of a centre-back that's done it. I remember Man United doing it in the early noughties with Laurent Blanc, and I thought he was going to get hung out to dry as well because he wasn't particularly quick. And he did sometimes, but then his quality shone through. So I think Thiago Silva deserves a lot of credit. If you want to go for Diaz, that's up to you, though. He's on 60%, so I will count it down. You never know. 60% has turned into a 50-50 before. So 3, 2, 1. Ruben Diaz has won. Ruben Diaz wins. Into the semi-final he goes, which brings in the one that I'm sure everyone wants to talk about. It's a North London derby again. It's Saliba against Romero in our final quarter-final for the best centre-back in the Premier League. So Saliba against Romero. Get your votes in. Saliba is winning this by a lot. He's winning this a lot. I mean, Saliba might win the whole thing. Can I just say, I really do rate Saliba. And there's no doubt that he's better than Van Dijk at his age. But Saliba's not the best centre-back in the Premier League. Come on. He's really exciting. He's really good. But he's not the best centre-back in the Premier League. It's illogical that he's the best Premier League and the best centre-back in the Premier League after 7 games playing in the Premier League. I'm not saying he won't win it, but it's illogical. He's not yet. It's like saying Erling Haaland's the best striker that's ever lived because he's scoring goals in the Premier League after 7 games. It's not logical, but that's not how it works. Saliba won fantastically well there. So we'll go to our next semi. We'll go to our first semi-final as the players come out here. Right, first semi-final. Get your votes in. I love doing these. So we've got Van Dijk against Varane. Kaneki. We bought Varane. Kaneki. Hey, Kaneki, watch that, footbally. They're doing best centre-back in the Premier League. And Varane's made it to the semi-finals, Kaneki. We bought Varane. But we've got a touch on that. See you later, Kaneki. Van Dijk against Varane. I'm not going to sway it, but I think right now you've got one world-class centre-back against another world-class centre-back, really. And right now, I know who's better. But it's not for me to decide, and we are doing a Liverpool watch-along. I like this one. YX says, Van Dijk is clear. Varane has only been good for like 2 games this season. Like he hasn't won 4 Champions Leagues and a World Cup and been one of the best centre-backs in the world for the last 6 years. People are talking like he's Saliba and he's just turned up and he's 22. The disrespect Varane gets is unbelievable. Like, I think people don't watch United, so they just assume that he plays every game where we're shit. He didn't play most of the games last year. What I always like, though, I always like this one. Varane was only good because he had Ramos next to him. Yeah, because Real Madrid are broke, aren't they? Real Madrid, for 10 years, really just kept Varane because he wasn't that good and they couldn't afford to go and get somebody else. You know, he only played for about 3 different Real Madrid managers, all of which, if they thought he's shit and Ramos makes him look good, would have gone and bought a better centre-back. It's the most disrespectful, bad take. It's right up there. Varane's never been any good. Ramos made him look good. Yeah, because Real Madrid couldn't just go and buy 4 or 5 other centre-backs, could they? Van Dijk has good players around him to make him look good, says Nobby. Come on. I don't think he does. He has fullbacks bombing forward and he plays a high line. There's no doubt that Varane's a fantastic centre-back, but this season he has been off a little bit. But I don't think it's his injury. Sorry, this is at 53% and it's come down a little bit. It's 53% for Van Dijk and it's 47% for Varane. So get your votes in because it was 54% for Van Dijk. So I'm going to just watch it and then I'm going to do the countdown of 10 seconds. And if it comes down to 52, it stays open. So get your votes in. 6. It's come down to 52. Let's keep it open. People telling me to end the poll. Have you ever watched how this works? There is always a 10 countdown, and if the poll is active, it needs to stabilise, and then we count down. It's not stable at the moment, it's moving. Somebody just said it's fixed because you stopped the countdown. You always stop the countdown if it changes when you're counting down, because it means the poll hasn't stabilised. It's down to 51% now. Get your votes in. It's a Liverpool watch-along. Somebody should be winning this. Right, I'm going to count down now. 3, 2, 1. Let's check the poll. It has. It's stayed at 51%. So Van Dijk goes into the final. That was close. That was very close. 51% for Van Dijk, 49% for Varane. I think that's about right. I think it is very close. I would have gone for Varane. I think I would have gone with Varane, but it was a good one. It was a good one, that one. And so our semi-final is Ruben Diaz against Saliba. Now, I know who should win this, but I don't think they will, because I think the Saliba hype is going to be ridiculous. But you're the voters. Saliba and Diaz, I tell you what, I'm surprised. Diaz is winning by quite a lot here. I actually thought Saliba-Diaz would be a little bit closer. It's getting bigger. That's what she said. I'm going to count this down. 3, 2, 1. It's 60% for Diaz, 40% for Saliba. Can I just come in there and say that I actually thought Saliba was going to win that? And in a popularity contest, it's not always about who's best. And I thought Saliba would win that. But I respect the fact that Diaz won it because he should win it. And I think Saliba in the next 2 years might be better than Diaz. But I also think it's closer than people think. He hasn't played enough. Yeah, look, the reason I would go for Diaz over Saliba, and I didn't sway the vote, so I don't know what people are talking about because I really thought Saliba would win. The reason I would go for Diaz over Saliba is that it's still very early days in his career, and you can't be the best centre-back in the league after 7 Premier League games. It's like, that's why I wouldn't put Bella Kotchup in there. I think he looks really good, but the whole point of being Rafael Varane or Virgil van Dijk or Ruben Diaz is that you do it over a long period of time. So Saliba, if Saliba's still doing, and I think he will be over future years, then it will be. We've got to do the final poll, of course. Yes, I've not forgotten about it. So it probably is about right, to be honest. It's going to be Van Dijk against Diaz for best Premier League centre-back. Varane pushed Van Dijk very, very close. Very, very close. So he was nearly in, which I'd take as a United fan. So Van Dijk or Diaz, best centre-back in the Premier League. Get your votes in that final there. The voting has become static. Let's just say Virgil van Dijk won with 56% of the vote. Thanks for all your votes there. Virgil van Dijk is the best Premier League centre-back, according to you in the chat. Thank you very much.